Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Public Service Commission of South Carolina. Today is April 27th. It is 10:05 a.m. Please join me in a brief moment of silence before we get started. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Present in the hearing room, we have Commissioners J. Williams, C. Williams, Caston, and Belzer. Joining us virtually, we have Commissioners Irvin and Thomas. Attorney Stark, please read the docket, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, other commissioners, we're here for the proceeding in docket number 2022-41-E, which concerns the application of Duke Energy Progress, LLC for approval of a residential energy-efficient appliances and devices program. Mr. Chairman, this proceeding has been scheduled for today, April 27, 2022 at 10 a.m. in the offices of the Commission and virtually. Mr. Chairman, I believe this docket to be in order.
Thank you, sir. Let's take appearances from the parties. Duke Energy Progress, LLC.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Ashley Cooper. I'm appearing on behalf of Dominion Duke Energy Progress, along with my colleague Maya Green, and we will be calling to the stand Linda Powers.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Cooper and Attorney Green. Has Attorney Green appeared before the Commission before?
Mr. Chairman, she has not. I would let the Chairman and other members of the Commission know that we're delighted to have Maya. She's joined our law firm, Parker Poe, just several months ago, maybe 3 months ago. And so we're delighted to have her. And she's been working with Will Middleton and me on our energy practice. So we're delighted to have her and very pleased that she could join and participate in this hearing today.
Well, congratulations to Attorney Green and to you, Attorney Cooper, and your energy practice. Happy to have you before us, Attorney Green. Office of Regulatory Staff.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. I am Andrew Bateman. I'm here this morning on behalf of the Office of Regulatory Staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Bateman. All right, just want to note for the record that the South Carolina Coastal Conservation League and Southern Alliance for Clean Energy are not participating in this hearing, and also not participating in this hearing is the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs, Consumer Advocate. They received notice but are not appearing. The South Carolina Coastal Conservation League and Southern Alliance for Clean Energy did file a letter of support. All right, is there anything that we need to take up before the applicant calls its first witness? Hearing nothing, Attorney Cooper, if you would call your first witness to the stand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The company calls Ms. Linda Powers to the stand.
Ms. Powers, if you would take the witness stand and raise your right hand and pause to be sworn in by our court reporter.
Good morning. Do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Powers. Would you please state your name for the record?
My name is Linda Powers.
And by whom are you employed, in what capacity?
I am employed by Duke Energy as a Senior Strategy and Collaboration Manager in the Carolinas.
And did you prepare or cause to be prepared 13 pages of direct testimony that were pre-filed with the Commission in this proceeding?
Yes, I did.
If I asked you the same questions that were asked in your pre-filed direct testimony this morning, would your answers be the same?
Yes, they would.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that Ms. Powers' pre-filed direct testimony be entered into the record as if given orally from the stand.
Ms. Powers' pre-filed direct testimony will be read into the record as if given orally from the stand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Powers, did you also prepare or cause to be prepared one exhibit that was attached to your pre-filed direct testimony?
Yes.
Do you have any changes to that exhibit at this time?
No.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that Ms. Powers' pre-filed direct exhibit be entered as the next hearing exhibit.
Ms. Powers' pre-filed direct exhibit will be marked and entered into the record as hearing exhibit number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Powers, would you please provide a summary of your testimony at this time?
Yes. Good morning, Chairman Williams and members of the commission. The purpose of my testimony is to explain how the Residential Energy Efficient Appliances and Devices program proposed in the company's application will operate within the company's suite of EEDSM programs. The company seeks approval for the addition of a new Appliances and Devices tariff, which combines the Residential Save Energy and Water Kit program, or the SCWK tariff, with other incentivized EE measures. The company also proposes to terminate the SCWK tariff upon approval of the Appliances and Devices program, given that the program will advance a more comprehensive tariff that encompasses the measures promoted under the SCWK program. The Appliances and Devices program encourages the installation of new high-efficiency equipment, such as high-efficiency lighting and fixtures, smart strips, and thermostats. Customers can participate in the program by ordering discounted measures directly from the company's online store or by phone. They can also purchase discounted measures directly from retail outlets. The company has negotiated with retailers to apply incentives at the time of purchase so that the company's customers receive lower prices. The company makes incentives for certain types of eligible equipment available to builders of new residences or to owners of or customers occupying new or existing residences served on a residential rate schedule. The program will provide an incentive to offset all or a portion of the installed cost difference between standard equipment and higher efficiency equipment. Some devices, such as high efficiency lighting equipment and electric water heating low flow devices, will be eligible for an incentive up to 100% of the installed cost. All other measures will be qualified for an incentive of up to 50% of the incremental installed cost. Incentives will only be available for Energy Star or similar products which pass the Utility Cost Test, or UCT, the company's primary cost-effectiveness screen for an EEDSM measure in South Carolina. The UCT examines the overall system benefit as a result of participating customers reducing their electricity consumption. This reduction in electricity consumption reduces utility system cost, which reduces cost for non-participating customers as well. The program's UCT score is 1.22, exceeding the required score of 1.0, and indicating that the benefits to the utility system do indeed exceed the cost. Based on similar programs, including the identical one in DEC territory, the company also estimated free ridership, meaning those customers that would have implemented the same EE measures if the program did not exist. Those estimates are included in the UCT calculation, and as stated before, the program passes the UCT. During the EM&D process evaluation, the third-party evaluator will verify and update the company's estimates of free riders. The company also discussed the program with the EEDSM Collaborative, an advisory group made up of interested stakeholders from across South Carolina and North Carolina. The collaborative serves as a forum for improving EE and DSM programs. In sum, the program offers customers the opportunity to reduce their electricity consumption by installing energy-efficient appliances and equipment. It allows the company to encourage that adoption by making the measures more affordable. And it lowers overall system cost for both participating and non-participating customers. Therefore, I recommend that the Commission approve the program and corresponding cost recovery as outlined in the application. This concludes my summary.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers. If you would, please answer any questions of council or the commission at this time.
Attorney Bateman, Office of Regulatory Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No questions for Ms. Powers. Thank you.
Commissioners, questions for Ms. Powers?
Chairman
Mr.
Williams.
Chairman, this is Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Williams was first in the order here, and so we have Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Thomas, and then Commissioner Caston. And it looks also that we have Commissioner Belzer, so that'll be the order. Oh, okay. This is like a family feud here. But we'll go with Commissioner Williams first.
Thank you, Chairman Williams. And I guess there has to be a first. So, Ms. Powers, thank you for being here. I have some questions to ask you just to have a greater understanding of your goals and how Duke Energy Progress will meet them. So my first one is very broad and general, and I just want to understand who the program is targeted for and what your goals are and how the program meets those goals.
So this program is targeted at our entire customer base, our residential customer base, and for the small businesses, like builders of residential residences that may install this equipment and will eventually be used by our residential customers. So that's our target. Our goal is to discount as many measures as cost effectively as possible.
Will you tell me a little bit more about how that will work with the home builders in particular?
Well, through our online store, there is an option for them to log in separately as builders and then order equipment that they can install in homes that they are building. They'll have to verify that the homes are being built in Duke territory and will be served on a residential rate schedule. And then there are also some places in retail stores where they can purchase items that will be installed in those residences and verify that they will be used in Duke residences.
Okay. The Southern Environmental Law Center in their letter listed some of course I can't find it. Listed some of the elements, and maybe I'll just drop that and see if I can find it in a minute. If someone purchases in a retail location, how is that tracked?
So in order for them to purchase, let's say, like a ceiling fan from a Home Depot, at checkout, they'll have to present a coupon or a barcode that they receive by logging in to the customer portal on the online website.
And that's,
online store.
I didn't mean to be, is that what a home builder would do, or is that what you and I would do?
Both.
Okay.
Both. The home builder will have a separate section on the website that he or she logs in through. We will be able to go in through our customer portals.
So if I understood you right, this is really hard to figure out where to look so that when I look down, I'm looking at you, but when I'm looking up, I'm not really, you're far away in the room. So I just want to explain the oddities of virtualness.
I sympathize.
So what I think you said is that you'll get a coupon, you'll log in online and you'll identify that you're a DEP customer and you'll get a coupon and then you take it to the store. And that's how Duke will track the use of those incentives.
Well, that's one potential way. The other way is to be able to log in directly through your phone and present a barcode. And then they could just scan a barcode on your phone at the time of checkout.
Okay. How will the company tell customers that that's the process?
Well, we have a number of avenues for marketing, bill inserts, direct mail, our home energy report, banners and links on the customer website. All of those avenues will be exercised, as well as material set up in the stores. So retailers will have signage that tells Duke customers they may be eligible for a discount and where to log in.
So if I were shopping and I became aware of that, I could use an app on my phone or use a website.
You could log into the website directly from your smartphone. and present the eligibility documentation at checkout.
Okay. You referenced free ridership in your summary and in your testimony and the application. Tell me more about how that was determined.
Well, this program is already running in the DEC territory. The Appliances and Devices Tariff was part of our 2013 suite of programs, and it has been operating for a while. We've included, or I should say expanded, the program over the years to include extra measures and additional stores. But the program has been operating and has been evaluated by our EM&V evaluators. So it was real easy for us to estimate what free ridership would be in DEP because we had those figures in DEC for the exact same program. If we didn't have a similar program, we could look at other utilities who might be operating a program similar or be incentivizing measures similar to the ones that we're incentivizing here. But if we didn't have either of those things, we would have to just rely on our expertise and our subject matter experts among our consultants. But for this program, we had those free ridership numbers available.
Excellent. You mentioned a smart strip. This is a tiny, easy question, but are you talking about the plug-in strips that you can control and turn them all on or off with one touch?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, some of these smart strips will have one plug that's considered a control plug. So if you turn off the appliance plugged into that piece, then it'll automatically turn off all the appliances. So you don't actually have to flip the switch on the surge protector. Just, let's say if you turn off your TV, it'll automatically turn off the gaming system and the speakers that are plugged into the same strip.
Interesting. How did you determine the incentive amount?
So incentives are determined based on savings. We have a pretty good idea of what the savings will be for these measures based on engineering estimates and what the value of those savings over the life of the measure will be to our utility system. So we determine the incentive based on the amount that we'll be saving in avoided cost. So for some of the less expensive measures, we can give those away basically for free to the customer at no cost to the customer. Those are the measures that were previously included in our Save Energy and Water Kit. For some of the larger measures like air purifiers, ceiling fans, or dehumidifiers, we offer 50%, an incentive that is up to 50% of the installed difference between the standard equipment and the higher efficiency equipment.
And then the 100, right. Got it. I think my last question, let's see. My last question has to do with UCT. The current one is 1.22?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how that's doing from a over time perspective in the Duke Energy Carolinas system?
Well, let me correct. The program that we are seeking approval of for today, we estimate that UCT will be 1.22.
Okay.
The program that's currently operating at Duke, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it is passing the UCT, and it I believe that it's in our most recent rider filing what the UCT score is, but I don't recall.
Okay. 1.22 is good, but did you all evaluate ways to make it even better? Or is that something that might emerge out of the EM&V process?
Both. So we are constantly looking for ways to make our programs better. When we estimate this UCT on the front end, we have a history of being very conservative because we don't want to promise what we cannot deliver. So, like for instance, we have estimated free riders, the customers that will take advantage of the incentive, even though they had every intention of buying the measure anyway. We didn't estimate spillover. Spillover is actually adds to our savings, and spillover are the customers that won't get the incentive, but they'll just either see it in the store or they'll see their neighbors have it, and then they'll buy the equipment. That actually adds to our savings. So we generally predict or project conservatively and then work behind the scenes to be as efficient and frugal as we can possibly be, and then hope that the evaluators will give us good news when they take a look at the program.
Do you know if in the Duke Energy Progress area, the UCT for EEDSM is getting better or staying the same or going down?
Well, cost effectiveness for EE programs has been a challenge since most of our lighting savings has gone away because of the change in the federal baseline.
Yeah.
So there are a few programs with high upfront capital requirements for participation that struggle to keep the UCT high. They're expensive to administer. We get less participation because of the upfront capital requirement. And so those struggle. Overall, as a portfolio, our UCT is strong. Our programs consistently, the benefits exceed the cost across the board. Very few exceptions.
And I think I said that was my last question, but this will be my last question. Is there anything in this program that will be targeted for more affordability or for low-income households?
Well, the whole program is for more affordability. I mean, that's what we're hoping to accomplish. This program in particular is not targeted directly at low income, although we do have some point of purchase retail outlets that carry like light bulbs and some of the lower cost measures. And we put those in areas and in stores that we think are likely to be frequented by low income customers, such as dollar stores, Habitat for Humanity stores, things along those lines. This program in general, the goal is just to make the measures more affordable for everyone. And so we haven't targeted low income customers. We are right now doing a study to figure out how many of our low income customers are participating in these general EE programs. And along with that study, we'll be finding out ways to market our programs more effectively to low income customers and possibly overcome some market barriers that they face.
I said that was my last one, and I'll stick to it. Thank you very much for your patience and your answers. I appreciate it. No further questions.
Commissioner Thomas.
I think you might be on mute.
Can you hear me now?
I can, thank you.
Okay. Well, at this point, I don't have any questions. Commissioner Williams covered all of the questions that I was going to ask. So you're good to go with me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Caston.
Good morning, Ms. Powers, and I too thank you for participating this morning.
Thanks.
Can you hear me?
I can.
In your testimony, where you talk about high efficiency lighting and equipment, high efficiency electric water heater, low flow devices, what are some of those high efficiency lighting and equipment? What is that?
An example of that would be the ceiling fans that you buy that have the permanent fixtures already attached, or fixtures that you buy that has the light built into them.
The built-in LED light,
Yes, sir.
does that include LED light bulbs?
The specialty bulbs like floodlights or canister lights, not your standard A19 bulb. We don't claim savings for A19s anywhere except in low income programs, because we found that generally the market penetration for A19 bulbs is substantial.
So for floodlights and such as that, like on your home, if you have it in your garage or pointing out toward the driveway.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know you could get anything but LED in those, but that's good to know.
There are some halogen bulbs that are less efficient that will sometimes get customers confused. So we make sure to point them toward not only the LED bulbs, but high quality LED bulbs. There are some lower quality bulbs that promise a lot of savings, but they have to be replaced more frequently because their effective useful life isn't as long because the quality isn't as good. So we want to make sure that customers are getting what they think they're getting when they purchase an LED bulb.
Understand. And the high efficiency electric water heater low flow devices, is that shower heads and such?
Shower heads and faucet aerators mostly.
Okay.
Also some pipe wrap.
Pipe wrap, I saw
potentially
that.
Water heating. Yeah, water heater blanket.
You also referenced the DSM-EE collaborative, and really got me thinking about that. Are there, and certainly not going to ask you to list everyone that's in your collaborative, but are there customers or customer representatives or advocates in that collaborative?
We probably have some customers in that collaborative. In fact, I'm thinking of a few that I know live in our service territory, so we do have some customers there. We also have groups that represent customers, such as, Upstate Forever, which represents our upstate customers, the Office of Regulatory Staff, the Energy Office, the Public Staff, the North Carolina Justice Center, the South Carolina Association of Community Action Partnerships. That's one. So they represent customers.
I probably should know this, but is the South Carolina Consumer Advocates Office, were they involved in this at all? Were they part of that collaborative?
They're not, but only because we've never received a request for them to be. If at any point they were interested, they are welcome to join. Our collaborative is open to all interested stakeholders. And right now, I believe we have about 35 members from 25 different organizations.
Okay. Did Duke evaluate other cost effectiveness tests?
We did. We routinely look at all 4 of them.
Do you remember what those results were?
I remember that the participant cost test, we passed with flying colors, much higher even than the UCT. And the TRC, we received a 0.79, which is a failing score for the TRC. However, the TRC is tricky because it is supposed to be a measure of the total cost and the total benefits, or a ratio that compares total cost and total benefits. We can easily figure out the total cost. We cannot easily quantify the total benefit. We can quantify the energy related benefits, but let's say, for example, an LED bulb, one of those floodlight bulbs that you were talking about earlier. There are energy savings associated with this LED floodlight. What we can't quantify is the value to a customer for not having to get on a ladder and change the bulb every 6 months. Instead, they can get an LED bulb with an effective life of 10 to 12 years. So we don't know what the monetary value of the safety and convenience of having a bulb that doesn't burn out or need to be replaced for 10 years. So we can't factor that into the total resource cost test. So it makes the total resource cost test a great measure of the total cost, not a great measure of the total benefit. Same thing with something like ceiling fans or dehumidifiers that could reduce mold growth in the home. We can't quantify what the cost of mold in somebody's home is right now. We are working on a study that quantifies those non-energy benefits. We should have that available later this summer. And to the extent we are able to include those benefits in the total resource cost test, we would do so. And we anticipate that with those benefits, this program would easily pass. But it's that disconnect between the total cost and the total benefits that fueled our switch to the UCT to begin with. And that was supported by many of our stakeholders because for a total cost, a total resource look, we really only get the total cost.
Okay. The participant test you mentioned, and I didn't hear that. What did you say that was again? I'm sorry.
I don't remember the number. It was well over 2, which means that the participant benefits will be more than double what the participant costs are.
Okay. And the UCT was 1.22, correct?
Yes.
Excuse me. Would there be an issue or problem with Duke, I guess, in future updates or whatever? I guess showing the values for the other cost effectiveness tests?
No, we look at, there's no problem at all. We check those regularly, and I believe that we submit those with our filing, if not in the filing itself, in the discovery to the Office of Regulatory Staff. They keep an eye on all those cost effectiveness tests. And so we could easily include that.
Now, as I recall, the UCT, I think that stands for Utility Cost Test. Is that correct?
It does.
So it's certainly in the best interest of the utility.
Yes, and when we look at the utility cost test, we're looking at system cost and system benefits. So just like the system cost flow to the consumers, the customers, so do the system benefits. So if a measure passes the utility cost test, that means that it avoids more energy, more capacity, more transmission and distribution capacity. It avoids us having to purchase energy and capacity in amounts greater than the cost of the program. Those costs are then, those avoided costs, those savings, are passed on to all of our utility customers. So when we say it's in the best interest of the utility, that means it's also in the best interest of the utility customers.
Understand. Anything that can reduce those peaks and flatten those lines is a good thing. I wouldn't argue that at all. So are you saying then, by virtue of all that, that there is zero cost shift? There is no cost shift whatsoever to non-participating customers?
No, it's a benefit to non-participating customers. So yes, that's what I'm saying.
So there's zero cost shift. So the TRC reflects that
Well, the
there's zero
TRC
cost shift.
yeah, the TRC doesn't measure a cost shift. The TRC
Right.
measures all the cost, even to the participating customer. So you could get a low TRC because the price of the equipment is high. But the only person paying the price for the total price of the equipment is the participating customer. That will drive down the score for a TRC. So, you know, if you had a $10,000 HVAC system, the company might be paying a $500 incentive, but the total cost that's going into the TRC is $10,000. And so that will push down the TRC score. The TRC is not a measure of cost shift.
Yes, ma'am.
That would be the UCT, and it passes the UCT, which means it does not cause a cost shift. It causes more of a savings shift if something passes the UCT.
Okay, I understand, and I agree that, you know, TRC or any of those others don't in themselves, that's not saying cost shift. I think that's the case. I'm not, I'm not, you know, I'm not real sure relative to if the UCT is 1.0 or greater, it's this or that. But I certainly understand what you're saying, and I appreciate your time. I appreciate your answering my questions, and you've been very, very kind. Thank you.
Vice Chair Belzer.
Good morning, Ms. Powers.
Good morning.
Ms. Powers, I was looking at the this Exhibit A, page 11 of 14, and it's actually the tariff that's attached to the application. Do you have that?
I do.
Let me know when you get there.
Here?
I'm interested in the second bullet, the types of equipment eligible for incentives, and the third item under that, other high efficiency equipment is determined by the company on a case-by-case basis. Explain to me how that would work, please.
So we do this so that we don't have to come back and adjust the tariff every time a new piece of equipment comes out. But let's say that that we find a fan, like an oscillating fan, that is significantly more efficient than your standard version fan. Once we get the engineering estimates that tell us how much energy a customer could save by using that fan, and then we can run the numbers to figure out how much avoided cost the company would achieve if a customer was using that fan, then we might include that type of equipment in this program.
Where will eligible equipment be listed? Is that going to be in the online store? And then you could either purchase through the y'all's website or Home Depot or Lowe's or local
Yes.
business?
Yes, the best source for that is the online store.
Will y'all only be marketing in the big box stores like Lowe's and Home Depot?
So right now we have agreements with Lowe's, Home Depot, and Best Buy. And we will expand those stores when the retailers get the technology to either recognize our coupons or scan our barcodes. When their systems can accommodate that, then we can expand the stores that we work in.
I'm just thinking about the little bit I know about the Progress area, and there seem to be some smaller towns that probably wouldn't have those box stores. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. So Ace Hardwares or local businesses, are y'all in touch with any of those businesses to see if they are interested in participating with y'all?
So our program manager, I just spoke to him last week about this. He is actively working and reaching out to those other stores, but right now they don't have the technology to verify that it's a customer just yet. When they do, we will happily add them.
Well, and that's what I was wondering about as far as verifying a customer. I imagine that there's an app. Does Duke have an app for people to put on their phone?
We do, and they could also log straight into the website.
Okay, so they would have to log into their account, use account information or something to log in to be able
Yes,
to access the barcode?
They would use their account information to verify their identity and then be able to present that barcode or coupon or however. We're still working on the details of the presentation. For folks that might not have a smartphone or might not be able to access it, we want them to have an alternative on their desktop as well. But some means of identifying that they're a customer and then logging that they're participating. We have some limits on the number of measures that a single customer can buy. So we track those. So we need them to log in, verify that they're a customer, that they haven't already exceeded their product limits, and then we would give them a barcode or a coupon to show at checkout.
Okay. Now you indicated that this program is targeted at the entire customer base, so it doesn't have to be an all-electric home. For instance, to take advantage of some of these. I understand if somebody had a gas water heater, they wouldn't qualify for some items, but they might be able to qualify for the ceiling fan. Would that be correct?
You're correct.
Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony this morning. Appreciate you answering my questions. That's all.
Commissioners, any more questions for Ms. Powers?
Chairman Williams, I've got one follow-up.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Williams, you have the floor.
Ms. Powers, I want to follow up on Vice Chair Belzer's question and go back to your answer to me related to Dollar General and Habitat for Humanity. In those circumstances, would someone need to have the physical coupon? Is that the difference, or please add to my understanding?
So generally what we discount at the Dollar Generals and the Habitat Community are light bulbs and really low cost measures. And so we don't require customers to validate their identity as customers for those low cost measures.
Okay.
It's cost effective for us to discount the measures for everyone, and then the amount that is purchased by somebody other than a Duke Energy customer, it's called leakage, is not enough to supersede the overall benefits to the system.
I'm very tempted to ask you the difference between spillover and leakage, but I'm not going to.
Oh,
unless you want to.
It's pretty easy.
Okay.
So, so leakage is when the benefits, the measures, leak outside the utility system. So this would be somebody who's driving down the road in one of our service territory towns because it's on their commute home. They buy something at one of those stores and they take it to their house outside our service territory. That's leakage. With spillover, you have two kinds of spillover: participant and non-participant spillover. Participant spillover is easy. Let's say they bought a surge protector for the TV downstairs and they got an incentive for that. They got it home, they plugged it in, they liked it. They went and bought a second surge protector. They didn't get the incentive for the second one, but they liked the first one so much, they went ahead and bought the second one without the incentive. That's participant spillover. Non-participant spillover is when they have, let's say they've got a dehumidifier that's working great and taking care of the mold problem in their home, and they're talking to the neighbor and they tell their neighbor, you should get this dehumidifier, it's working great for me. And since the neighbor knows that brand and has this testimonial, that neighbor goes to the store, buys the same dehumidifier but doesn't need the incentive to encourage them to do so. That's non-participant spillover.
Okay, since you took me there, what is the difference between that non-participant spillover and free ridership?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. This non-participant spillover actually adds to the savings of the program.
Okay.
Whereas a free rider had every intention of buying that anyway and took the incentive unnecessarily. So you can only have a free rider if they've taken the incentive. Now they are taking the incentive when they didn't really need it to help them make the decision. The non-participant spillover made the decision and never took the incentive. So free riders subtract from our net savings or our gross savings, and spillover adds to our savings.
I've got it for this minute, but I'm going to find this in the testimony and copy it and keep it nearby. Thank you very much, Ms. Powers.
Feel free to ask the question over and over again if necessary.
No further questions.
Commissioner Caston.
Ms. Powers, these questions had me think of another question, if that's okay.
Okay.
And I am one of those that would have to ask for an explanation repeatedly too. So I appreciate your kindness in that respect.
I understand.
Relative to the free ridership and I guess whatever number was used in the calculations or Duke's calculations, do you remember what that percentage free ridership was or what that number was that Duke used?
We estimated that 20% of the participants would be free riders.
And I couldn't remember, I was thinking about trying to remember the other cost effectiveness test, and I think it was the RIM, the RIM or whatever. Do you recall what that was?
I don't. I know that it was lower than 1, but I don't remember what the score was.
You don't remember if it was a lot less than 1 or a little bit less than 1?
I think it was substantially less than 1, like maybe in the 0.5 range, which is normal for the RIM test, and it's because of the inclusion of net loss revenue.
I'm trying to recall the definition of that one. It was kind of a no regrets test. You know, it kind of either benefited all or it didn't. Is that kind of
Yeah, it's
right?
the rate impact measure. So it's it just says overall, will the inclusion of this measure and the net loss revenue increase the rider or decrease the rider? And it will increase.
But all ratepayers, it measures kind of all ratepayers. Like if it's greater than 1, all ratepayers tend to benefit if it's greater than 1 on the RIM, and if it's less than, all ratepayers don't necessarily.
Yeah, so if it's greater than 1, then it applies downward pressure on rates. It's a very high bar for energy efficiency programs to reach in the early days of a program or even the first couple of years, because we collect net loss revenue. Once the 3 years or the 36 months are up and we no longer collect the net loss revenue, then the long-term effect of energy efficiency is to drive down system cost because of it lessens the need to purchase energy and capacity.
Understand. But if I recall, I mean, looking at testimony, some of these programs I think have been going on since 2013 or longer.
Yes, yes sir.
That's 9 years, 10 years, going on 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Commissioners, questions for Ms. Powers? Additional questions for Ms. Powers? Commissioner Urban.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Powers, good morning. It's good to have you with us today.
Good morning.
Thank you for taking the time to give us these great explanations of how this program is being evaluated, monitored, and implemented. Is it true that this is only a residential target audience at this point?
Yes, the target audience is residential. We have that little non-residential carve out for builders, but the target audience is residential.
Has the company done an analysis or given any thought to the appropriateness of trying to expand it to, say, commercial or industrial use, or is that practical?
Well, we have other programs that already offer these measures to commercial and industrial. So that would be our Smart Saver prescriptive program and our Smart Saver custom programs. We both offer the equivalent non-residential measures.
Right. Very good. And so back to Commissioner Belser's questions about trying to reach some underserved areas, particularly rural areas that may not have a Lowe's, or one of the participating stores. How do you penetrate that type of rural market? There must be some best practices, maybe like working with local nonprofits, United Way, or some other groups that try to reach out to those areas. Give us some thoughts about that.
So those are tough areas to reach. It's part of the reason why we're doing this low income participation study. So we can figure out and we can interview customers that have and haven't participated and find out what barriers we need to overcome. That's a huge priority for us. It's also one of the things we talk about regularly in the DSM-EE collaborative to get help from all those organizations. But you're right. The best way to reach out to low-income customers in general, particularly in rural areas, is to work through the organizations that they trust, that they're already in contact with. So a good example would be the way we run the Neighborhood Energy Saver program, where we reach out to churches, community groups, community action agencies, schools even, and we advertise and market through those partners. And that is the best way to do it. For this program, because we don't have those Lowe's or Home Depot, Best Buy, that's why we have the online store option with either greatly discounted shipping or free shipping, because we find for some folks it's just too far to go, and to the extent we can offer these measures in our online store, we do.
What about the use of a billing insert that kind of, in simple terms, describes how they could go and purchase these items online and have them shipped to their homes? Is that possible? Yeah.
Yes, we do use billing inserts to advertise our online store and all our energy efficiency programs.
And what about public service announcements? Do you use those?
I don't know about public service announcements necessarily, but we do in our service territories have radio advertisements. I've heard those. Some Facebook ads, we use those.
Right.
Even at like ball fields, ball team, we take advantage of all those too. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. A lot of indigent customers find their way to the free medical clinic, perhaps to the Social Security office. Have you considered trying to reach out through avenues like that?
I don't know if we've targeted that specifically, but that's an idea that I can take back.
Okay. And the final thought was, in terms of the high efficiency light bulbs, what if you just pull the delinquency list of customers that are struggling to pay their bills and just mail them the light bulb through the postal service, and a little, insert as to how it will save them money on their bills? Is that something as simple as that? Is that possible?
Well, we've been looking at the customers that have been in arrears over the last couple of years, especially in light of the pandemic, and doing a lot of analysis on who those customers are and how we can reach them. And energy efficiency programs is right there at the top of our list as far as strategies that we can utilize to help these customers. So I don't know if we have considered just drop shipping them free LEDs, but we are looking at how to market our EE programs, how to offer those programs, such as like the home energy house call, when folks call in to make payment arrangements, and we keep our folks at the call center updated on what's available and what they can offer to help customers lower their bills.
And one other strategy I know that you're doing home energy inspections at the request of some customers to where one of your representatives actually makes a home visit. What would be wrong with taking those light bulbs along and offering them on the home visit?
We do that. We offer light bulb, aerators, pipe wrap, weather stripping, and a number of things that the auditor will just install while they're there. We also have the option for them to purchase additional light bulbs, smart thermostats, get a blower door test for that's this additional cost. But if they want it, they've got somebody right there on site who's trained and trusted and not trying to sell them anything that can give it to them.
Well, that's fantastic. That's great news. Well, I want to commend you on the program. I think a lot of times when we look at cost benefit analysis, a lot of the benefits are really kind of hard to pin down, aren't they? It's hard to explain how reducing demand and lower everyone's bills,
Right.
even the non-participants, right?
Right, because you see the cost in day one, but then you see the benefits spread out over the effective useful life of the measure, which could be several years, maybe even more than a decade.
Maybe even more than a lifetime for some of these people.
It's possible.
And then even when they sell their homes or vacate the apartments, the next resident who purchases or rents the property is also a beneficiary. True?
You're exactly right. And that's why it's important to us to keep an eye on it from the utility system angle, because then we know that we're meeting all customers' needs now and in the future.
So it seems to me it's just like the gift that keeps on giving. I really like the program, and I hope that some of these tests that have been used historically are really not very accurate in terms of measuring the benefits side. Hoping we can get away from that, because it tends to kind of give some of your efforts bad scores that aren't justified. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it does skew us quite a bit. And like I said, I think actually y'all ordered in 2019 or 2020, probably 2020, for us to take a look at quantifying non-energy benefits. That was one of the suggestions from the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy and the Coastal Conservation League, is that we include those non-energy benefits in our cost effectiveness test. But we're a utility, so we know how to quantify utility cost of benefits, but not the non-energy benefits. So that's the study that we're in the midst of right now, and we hope to have good information for the collaborative and then for the commission.
Great. Well, you might consider the possibility of using university system. They have excellent research staffs, and they like projects like that result in a good community outcome for our state. And for example, the Clemson Extension Service might be an ideal place to start gathering information and documenting the benefits that are being accrued that we don't even know about. We don't even see them, because the the big picture is that if you can ever, as Commissioner Caston properly said earlier, you can ever reduce the peak demand in the summer and winter months, everybody wins, because you don't have to go out and seek additional fuel or resources or build new plants. Everybody wins, right?
Yeah, we have some folks from Clemson on the collaborative,
Right.
as
Well,
well as Duke and North Carolina State.
That's fantastic. I know that Clemson does great outreach, and of course they historically did it primarily for the agricultural community. We saw a lot of benefits in that area, but there's, you know, it could also be used in the energy community as well. So I would encourage you to look at that.
They've been very helpful on the commercial and industrial design side.
As Commissioner Caston would agree, they're a great land grant university. I know he would agree with that. Right, Commissioner Caston? He's not listening.
Well, I'm sorry, I kind of missed some of it, but I heard Clemson. If it was positive, I absolutely agree.
Bragging on your alma mater and telling the world what a great job they do in their research and development. And you know, they just have an outstanding program of work, and so much good comes from it. So I'm hopeful that you'll continue to engage that academic research community, and maybe they can help us find even better ways to expand the program. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate your responses.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, any further questions for Ms. Powers? All right. If there are no,
Could I follow up with one thing, Chairman Williams?
Commissioner Caston.
If it's okay, Ms. Powell, as I listen to everything, you know, these things kind of grow in my head, and I hope it's okay. But I was thinking about your collaborative again, and again, let me say that any programs that make sense and reduce peaks, flatten growth, you know, defer capital expenditures on future generation transmission, I absolutely, you know, support. And my industry, we did the same, and I applaud all those efforts. But when I was thinking about the collaborative again, and it, you know, that was, you know, it wasn't real clear, you know, who all's on it or, you know, what groups are represented. But I was kind of curious, were there any alternative responses or folks in the collaborative that maybe had differing views or different views of the maybe the program, the benefits? Was there any of that, or is it all just 100% support?
So as I recall, all the feedback that we got was positive. Most of the collaborative feedback was asking us if we had evaluated other measures to make sure we hadn't left anything off our list or we didn't have any blind spots. We first introduced this idea of expanding the program in 2019. We've revisited in 2020 as we narrowed down the list of measures. And all the feedback that we've gotten on the appliances and devices program and on our plans to market it and distribute it have been positive and encouraging, and they are, to my knowledge, are supportive of us doing this program and more in the future as we're able.
I understand. That's good. And again, I'm not saying this in any negative way, because it's certainly allowed, and I don't fault the company at all. But did all the participants or collaborative participants, I mean, do they understand, you know, that certainly Duke, you know, gets to recover all these costs and has that 10.6% performance incentive? I mean, while I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, it's not purely benevolent. Um, Does everyone sort of understand that, you think?
I certainly hope so, and I believe that they do. Our collaborative members are well informed on energy efficiency programs and on our recovery mechanism. And with regards to that 10.6 performance incentive or shared savings incentive, that is 10.6% of the avoided cost. So the remaining 89.4% of savings goes directly back to customers, participating and non-participating. So I think all of our collaborative members are aware of that and are happy with it. And as we've said so many times before the commission, Duke leads the Southeast in energy efficiency savings. Duke Energy Carolinas is number 1, Duke Energy Progress is number 2, and number 3 is way, way back in the rear view. So I think our collaborative members understand that. They understand that we do it because it is good for our system, it's good for our customers, and it's good for our bottom line as well.
I understand. Thank you. You do a good job. You're a good spokesman for them. Thank you very much.
Ms. Powers, you've done a great job answering all these questions, and I just have a few for you, and hopefully we can let you go after that.
All right.
I can't remember the day or the month or the hearing, but there was a customer that testified before the commission about light bulbs that he received, energy efficiency light bulbs, and essentially his argument was, I received these light bulbs for free, but they're not free. Someone has to pay for them. And what I took from his testimony, he testified as to more than that. What I took from his testimony is that for whatever reason, he did not feel as if he benefited from energy efficiency programs, at least from the light bulb program. What would you say to a customer who has that same or similar opinion and belief regarding such programs?
I think I would explain to that customer that these energy efficient appliances, devices, and equipment reduce the company's need to generate electricity. So if you're using 9 watts, which is an LED bulb, as opposed to 60 watts of an incandescent bulb, that is 51 watts of energy that we do not have to supply. And when you multiply that over hundreds of thousands of customers and millions of bulbs, it adds up. So I'm not surprised that a customer wouldn't see the benefit from 1 bulb or even 15 bulbs. They may not. But when you combine that with the efforts across the entire utility system, it does make a difference. We reduced our retail sales by 1% last year for DEC, slightly more if you take out the opted out customers, commercial industrial customers that don't participate in the EE programs for the settlement. We reduced 1%. 1% isn't a lot, but it is 1%. And it does mean that there were millions of dollars worth of savings that we got from our energy efficiency programs. So I'm not surprised that customers don't always understand the impact that it makes. I'm not sure that I did years ago when I first got started, but I think if we review the data, if they could see the numbers, if they saw how rigorous we were in our EM&V, I think we could persuade them otherwise.
That makes sense to me. And when I think about the answer to my question, your answer to my question, I think about getting up this morning and going to the gym. Despite the fact I did not want to go, I would rather spend that hour there than consistently or as consistently as I can, as opposed to not doing that over a lifetime and then reaping the rewards of inactivity.
Yeah, it's like all savings. You know, what is the saying? Watch your dimes and the dollars take care of themselves. We can't just save in large amounts. We have to be willing to save in small amounts consistently over a long period of time, and then we see a difference. Energy efficiency is just the same.
All right. Is there and you are obviously the subject matter expert in this area, which is why you're testifying. And so I'm not asking you necessarily to argue against yourself, but I am academically curious. Is there an alternative argument to the argument you've just made in support of EE programs? An alternative view?
Well, I think if you were going to argue against EE, you would have to frame your argument very specifically. You would have to either focus on first cost rather than the long-term effects. You would have to try to undermine the evaluation, measurement, and verification process. But to do that, you would probably need to focus on some less rigorous activity than what we do at Duke, because we have some of the most rigorous EM&V in the country. And then maybe you could argue that energy efficiency doesn't get to the people who need it. You know, that last mile of customer, that's the hardest to reach. I think you would be able to make somewhat of an argument that we're not getting to everybody, but I don't know that you would be able to offer a better approach. We're working at it pretty hard, nonstop, every single day. So I think that could be it. That could be an argument I think that folks could make. I don't think they could win any of them, but they might try.
I appreciate you being willing to indulge me with that question. My wife thinks I'm crazy at times because I argue against myself in the shower in the mornings to make sure that I'm making the best decision. And so I appreciate that you are able to go through the alternative view and still stand firm in your position and your testimony. I have no further questions for you. Commissioners, anything else before we turn Ms. Powers back over to her counsel? Hearing nothing. Attorney Cooper, do you have any redirect?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No further questions.
All right. Ms. Powers, you may step down from the witness stand and be excused. Thank you again for your testimony.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Attorney Cooper, do you have another witness?
Mr. Chairman, the company does not. That concludes the company's case at this time.
Thank you, sir. Office of Regulatory Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. ORS pre-filed no testimony in this case and has no witness. We did make 3 filings in this docket. I'm happy to go through those 3 filings if you would prefer. Otherwise, ORS has no objection to the programs offered by the company.
If you can go through the filings briefly, that would be great.
Absolutely. I largely touched on the first one. ORS has no objection to the programs as offered by the company. We made that filing on February 4th, 2022. Subsequent to that, the Commission set procedural deadlines, and this hearing date on April 6, 2022, which was the date on which, I believe that was the date on which direct testimony was due. ORS filed a letter indicating to the Commission that we were continuing to monitor the docket, but that we had no direct testimony due. And subsequent to that, on April 18th, which was the date which originally was the date on which a motion to file rebuttal testimony would have been due, we filed a letter indicating that we were not planning to file that motion and that we did not intend to file any rebuttal testimony.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Considering that the parties have submitted all matters for commission consideration and there's nothing else before the commission at this time, we are adjourned.